Fucking team legend. Rip a team legend, mate.
Right, mate. This bloke's a fucking legend.
Fucking.
Oh, are we live streaming on YouTube right now?
Yes.
Cool.
On YouTube style.
YouTube style. Hey,
So I gotta just post a link to it, but we're going right now. Hi, Alice. Welcome to the 25th book club. It's now been 2 years of reading a book a month. And it's been quite a journey we've gone on together. I'm not a fast reader, so this was like more for anything else, just a way for me to make myself read more, like have an excuse to read more. And I'm definitely reading more books than I would have been otherwise if I wasn't doing book club. I also like getting recommendations from other people because if I were to pick it every week, every month it would just be it would just be fantasy novels every month.
Sure.
Like, because that's kind of my wheelhouse. Like that's the stuff I write, and that's just what I read. And I never would have read Ishmael. I never would have read Blood Meridian on my own. Like, so I don't know. It's been really good for me. I appreciate the recommendation. By the way, we have one of my best friends, the great and powerful Evan Carpenter, is with us.
Hey, Alice. Hey, YouTube.
We're the Silly Hat Bros. And Evan's actually the one who recommended this book.
That's right.
How did you find out about Ishmael?
You know, I actually got it recommended to me by my sister. Yeah, she was kind of deeply affected by it, and she was recommending it to everyone. And I'm glad I read it too.
Yeah, I think our buddy Hyatt said he read it in college. I feel like that's a very book you read in school.
It's a college book for sure. I think I did too, honestly.
You read it in college?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, I read this like way back, like a few years ago for the first time. Yeah.
So Ishmael is something I think is really cool is the way they establish the setting very quickly.
Mm-hmm.
Like he takes no time getting into the meat of it. I think it's because he's like, I got a lot to say, and I need to I optimize my time because like you don't want to make your book too big.
Mm-hmm.
But basically the setting is there's an ad in the paper and it says something like students wanted, something like that.
Yeah, I think it says like a teacher looking for like an apt pupil or something like that must be ready to save the world.
Yeah.
Here, let me see if I can find the exact quote. Yeah, something along those lines.
Yeah. And so the main character of our book, who I don't know the name of, do you know the name of it?
No, they never say it.
They never say it. Okay.
Real quick, the advertisement: teacher seeks pupil, must have an earnest desire to save the world. Apply in person.
Yeah. So the character sees this weird fucking ad in the paper, and I think he's just more like intrigued than anything. He's like, I got to go see what the fuck this is about.
Yeah, it feels like he goes into it almost like to kind of rip on it a little bit,
Oh, right. Yeah. That's right. Because he's like, what kind of fucking guru is this?
Yeah, totally. Like, what kind of goober is going to read this like newspaper advertisement and go try to save the world?
Yeah.
Which I get. But things turn out totally different for him, don't they?
So when he gets to this office building, There's one room that just has like a glass panel and the gorilla on the other side of this panel. And the gorilla starts speaking to his mind directly, like projecting his consciousness at the narrator. And
Yeah, it's a telepathy. You like the gorilla can like send his thoughts to the guy, and the guy kind of like speaks out loud.
and um, starts telling him, like, basically, I am a gorilla. I've spent most of my life in captivity. Who would know better than me what captivity is? And he's like, okay. He's
Mhm.
like, you are in captivity and you don't know it. And then we start to find out about mother culture. Mother culture tells us things and kind of lulls us to sleep. You hear something so many times that you don't register it. It's like peripheral blindness.
Mhm.
And basically, he's explaining to the character that there is a mythos that we carry as a people, even though we don't think of it as a mythos. Like it's not like we have a lot of like secularists and atheists in our society that aren't focused on religion, but they too have a mythos.
Mhm.
And this mythos is kind of like the world was meant, everything leading up to the point of humankind was just what we are the final product. We everything that exists for us. And this is what's outlined is the takers and the leavers. And the leavers are kind of like people that don't pick up this mythos, and the takers are the people that do take up this mythos.
Mhm.
And there's a lot of distinct. At first, I thought that Ishmael was anarcho-prim. I thought he was all like return to monkey, quit using technology, like on some Ted Kaczynski shit. But as you find out, he's not actually talking about getting rid of technology. He's not talking about retrograding. He's talking about actually bringing like moving into the future.
Mhm.
And um, it's not about agriculture. Like we have to stop farming and go back to hunter and gathering. It's not that. It's we have to coexist with our surroundings. Um, and it gets very biblical. I thought a lot of that was very interesting.
Definitely.
And I gotta say, this book really like, I wouldn't say it's like a very emotional book. Like it's kind of just very, but it was very emotional for me because the more like, I was really engrossed with Ishmael because like I'm also feel like I'm trapped in a society and I didn't realize it, but I really want a teacher. I really want, I mean, I guess that's why I talk to so many people about it. It's because like we're all kind of each other's teachers.
For sure.
And I wish I had more guidance. So like when this character meets Ishmael, it's like I think in a lot of way, a lot of us want that. We know there's problems, but we don't know what to do about it.
Mhm.
And it's like
Yeah, we wish there was this mystical teacher that would just step out of nowhere and like explain everything to us and set us on the right path.
yeah, yeah. And like some people do a better job of it than I particularly do, but like we're all fed up about this, but we're still like uh we're not letting it consume us, right? Like we still do have fun and do other shit as if the world is not coming to an end.
Mhm.
And like I have a hard time with that, which made me think for a long time that other people weren't aware of this. And it's like, no, pretty much everyone knows that like shit's, but like I think a lot of people just feel hopeless about it.
Hmm.
They don't feel like there's any way to fix it. So they just kind of,
Yeah.
and I just have a really hard time doing that. And this book doesn't just point out problems, and that's what I really like about it. It offers you solutions.
I will say though, I don't think it offers calls to action. It doesn't really feel like Ishmael was like telling you there's certain things you need to do after reading this book. It was more just highlighting the fact that humanity needs to change and we need to change based on the I don't know ideas outlined by this gorilla.
Yeah, I thought it. I did think like the whole time I was reading it, it was like it'd be so funny if he was like, "So what you need to do?" is target these people, blow up these buildings,
Buy a lot of fertilizer.
buy Bitcoin.
Put your money in crypto.
Yeah, yeah, your vote is your money. Your money is your vote.
I'm glad we're doing this. What does the gorilla sound like in your head? Because
That's a good question.
it's all a telepathic communication with the gorilla. What does he sound like to you?
Okay, so there is in DC Comics, there's a gorilla, Killer Grodd.
Yeah, gorilla
Gorilla
Grodd.
Grodd.
Yeah.
I just thought of Gorilla Grodd, like a deep, like I am I am Ishmael.
Yeah.
And like, because Ishmael, he's a very patient teacher, but man, does he get like really frustrated. It's like oh my God, this poor gorilla, right? Like this poor fucking guy, dude. Like, can you fucking imagine what it would be like to be Ishmael?
Oh, it sucked for him for most of the book, if not all of it. Like just living in captivity like that. Wow. So in the book, for some context, full spoilers ahead.
Yeah.
If it
Alice read it already. Alice read it already.
All right, thanks, Alice. So Ishmael was basically like, captured from the jungle as like a baby gorilla in like the 1930s or something. And he was part of like a traveling show during like the Great Depression and stuff, but eventually that all like fell apart once World War II ended, I think. And there was a wealthy buyer who came to the traveling show, saw Ishmael, and kind of like get this like mental connection with it, and it was like, hey, you're intelligent. I'm gonna make you my life project because my family died in the Holocaust, and that's what happened to his family, So,
so these characters have like a personal connection as well.
Yes,
it's like they both have been captives and in unfair circumstances. So anyway, but he takes him in, his family.
Yep. And like things are cool. Eventually, the guy, he like tries to teach Ishmael how to talk, and Ishmael basically says like I just like I couldn't do it like with the what do you call it?
Vocal cords.
Yeah, essentially. Just like the biology, they just can't talk.
Right, you can't make those sounds. I bet that's something the author thought about. Because he obviously did a lot of research for this book. I bet he was like, hey, biologists, if a monkey was smart, could he do this? I think he probably did some research on like, no, but he was like, I want to make this monkey talk. That was probably his outline.
Sure.
And then he was like, logistically, if I want to make this believable, it's not like magic. Well, I guess it is magic because it's telepathy. But anyway, the whole setting for Ishmael is just a setup to deliver this message.
Yeah.
And I think it's the Tao. There's Taoists have a book that's kind of like a religious text.
The Tao Te Ching.
Tao Te Ching. Yeah. Is that the one that's like a conversation between a master and a student? And just their conversations?
Maybe, I'm not sure.
I don't know well enough. I think that is what it is. Well, there's one like that if it's not that. But that's what Ishmael reminds me of, is like it's a religious text almost. Like it's like here's a path forward. It's actually like so anyway, it reminded me of the Tao Te Ching. And the whole conversation is just about what we've gotten ourselves into and how to get out of it. And it's mostly just waking up to very simple things that we've taken for granted, like understanding what your biases are, I guess. And sometimes that takes an outside source to like kind of show you that. It's kind of like culturally, like we all did things very differently until like the world became more connected. And it's like there's still culture, obviously, but like it's just funny how people would do things different ways and then be like, oh, I never thought about doing it that way. And then the other side's like, yeah, wow, y'all do that? That's crazy.
Yeah, that's the way we've always been doing it.
Yeah. So anyway, we have like Earth has a culture now. It's not just one. Well, I mean, there are different cultures, but there's also one collective culture, and not yet across, not just like specific to one country, but all over the world. The takers have this mythology of we are the Earth exists for us, um, and I think there's not really anything to argue with in Ishmael. Like it might be a hard message, but like everything that's said is true.
Yeah.
Um, so I mean, it's like you just become aware of things. It's one of those books that like once you read it, you can't turn that off. Like you're like there's like a lot of great pertinent wisdom in there. Have you read any of the other books? Because
Oh,
there's
like
two more.
Ishmael, or like the one he made before this.
Yeah.
No, I haven't read those.
I'd be interested at some point. This is an American author from Nebraska, I think. Um,
The author is Daniel Quinn.
yeah, there's a picture of him somewhere. But there it is. Yeah, in Omaha, Nebraska. Yeah, this guy just definitely just had a message, and he wanted a way to convey it. And in like in the New Testament, Jesus talks about how like he always teaches by parable because parables are instead of just telling someone up front, if you take them along a story, it's like that means more to people for some reason. This is how we're hardwired.
Sure.
And so I think Ishmael is an effective way to get a story across. It's kind of like how like even like high fantasy stuff that's crazy. It's like, wow, that has a mess like Star Wars. It's like, wow, this has a message that applies to me. Even though it's something absolutely ridiculous. It's not like anywhere close to reality.
Sure.
But it's still like, yeah, good and evil. And that's a good way to get those kind of messages through is through fiction. It's a mirror of reality. So we're able to see reality through stuff we create.
Yeah, we're also built to draw meaning from the stories and things that we read and understand. It's like it's satisfying. You feel like a puzzle, when you figure out like the true meaning of something. And I think that's a lot of what Ishmael is about. Is re-examining old elements of our culture.
Yeah. It's a book of philosophy masquerading as a book of fiction. And yeah, there's the takers, which accept society the way it is, and propagate this tale of we are the dominant race. But then there's pockets of what's called lever culture and like aboriginals and like areas of Africa and United States.
Lever culture is essentially living in connection with the earth. So taker culture is assuming that you have like domination over the earth, and it's like, the earth is made for me, therefore I have power over deciding what is right and wrong on this earth, and I'm going to take control of it. And the levers, they just act as a part of that great, cosmic balance of the world. Let me see if I got a relevant quote on my phone. But yeah, that's kind of how I understood it too.
Yeah. There's a part on page 230 talks about they're talking about how even if people are aware of this stuff, they wouldn't care. They would just do it anyway. And author says people can't just give up a story. That's what the kids tried to do in the 60s and 70s. They tried to live like the takers, but there was no other way for them to live. They failed because you can't just stop being in a story. You have to have another story to be in. So I interpreted this as if you're going to tear something down, you must have something to replace it with. You can't just tear something down without putting something in its place. Because that's just chaos. And so in order to do something about the system we have in place, we'd have to put something else there. So it's not enough just to tear it down. You have to have something to put there. And like that's part of what's so hard to do about the system is even if we did do something about it, now you have to do something different.
Yeah, it's like, the two-party system, we can agree, like, sometimes it's not the greatest thing, but what are you going to do instead of it? You know?
Yeah.
Yeah. It's good to approach a problem with a viable alternative.
Yeah. This part really got me. It's page 268. He says, "What do I do? What you do is teach 100 what I've taught you, and inspire each of them to teach 100. That's how it's always done. Yes, but is it enough? Of course it's not enough. But if you begin anywhere else, there's no hope at all." And that fucking really struck a chord with me. Is like the first thing you have to do is show people the truth. You have to show them what is going on. And if you try to start it any other way, it's doomed to fail.
Sure.
There's also like there's a lot of urgency in this book. It's like this is not something we need to figure out like 1,000 years from now. This is something we need to figure out now.
Yeah. Absolutely.
And like I don't know. I have a very bleak outlook on the world, and I think this book is inspiring to me because it's not. It's like, hey, I hear you, but we need to think about this. We need to like think this through how we're going to do that.
Sure.
And if you get hasty and just angry and do things out of anger, that's where you get like your Ted Kaczynski's of the world.
Yeah.
It's like, what did he accomplish? Nothing. He killed a lot of innocent people. He did a lot of harm, and he didn't accomplish any good.
Mm-hmm.
So, acting rashly is not a correct step forward. What you have to do is educate the way, teach what you've learned to 100 people and encourage them to encourage 100 people.
Mhm.
The danger of this kind of thing is like where you get like religion and cults from is like, I'm going to spread this idea and amass this group. But I think what's important is that's not really a problem if you have a group of people, as long as it is the core thing has to be open-mindedness and willing to have your mind changed.
Sure. Yeah.
But if those are your core tenets, then it can never become the only doctrine is open-mindedness.
Yeah, totally.
So it can never become a dogmatic like worldview.
It makes so much sense that was the first call to action. It's like, a teacher looking for a pupil who wants to learn, and it's so ironic that the guy came in there to make fun of it and then he actually learned.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. I think this is uncomfortable stuff for a lot of people to talk about because they're so deep in mother culture.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, for sure. It's a lot of notions that you just like, they're ingrained in you like from really consciousness, and you just don't think about them. Yeah.
Yeah. It's and like people don't want to think about it. It's I like, for example, like even religious people, it's like you come into this world and you don't know what the fuck is going on. But then someone tells you like, hey, here's what's going on is there's a man in the clouds and he's judging your actions. It's like, okay, cool. I don't have to worry about it anymore.
Sure. Yeah.
I have an answer. And it's like, I don't have to, because I had a lot of existential dread before I found this, and that's like really people are really susceptible to that because raw dogging reality is fucking terrifying.
Yeah.
When you are like, when you understand like when you start to remove preconceptions, it's like, wait, we don't know anything at all.
Yeah.
And
no, not at all.
I think a lot of people, that's like a lot to bear. And so they don't like being woken up.
Sure.
Also, it's like, I know a lot of people, man, that are like, yeah, it's fucked up. It's only going to get worse, but there's nothing we can do about it. And that just feels so I'm not even saying they're wrong, but like not with that. We certainly don't with that attitude.
Yeah, can't just give up.
Yeah, it's like if we do, then you're right. We don't have any chance, and it is going to get worse.
Agreed. Yeah.
There's so many good lessons in religious texts, but one of the problems I have with a lot of like doctrines of Christianity is like God has a plan. Don't worry about it. Armageddon's coming. And it's like, no, you need to worry about it like right fucking now. Like you don't need to wait on God to show up. You need to do something.
Sure.
And I think that's really like not all Christians are like that because it's kind of like one of those misinterpretation things. Like in the book of Revelations, there's this like Jesus returns on a white horse to the trumpets of angels and brings hail, fire, and brimstone to all of evil, and all that's left are the good people. But it's like, why are you taking that literally when it's like that's clearly not what it's trying to tell you?
Sure.
What it's trying to tell you is that the spirit of Christ will return and it will have a fiery vengeance. And I think that's more like because this we're talking about a work of fiction, and that's part of the problem why people don't understand this because they take it so literally. They think this really happened, so they can't see the point. It's like mother culture, but like it's more like a thing in the hearts of man, like because it's all a metaphor. But if you're like waiting on fucking Jesus Christ to fly down here and like what I mean, that's a really fucking comforting thing, but like you're not very inclined to do anything at that point.
Yeah, you surrender your agency.
Yeah.
If you're just waiting for like a savior to descend and just end life as you know it.
Yeah, you
bring
just
you to a higher plane.
Just throwing my hands up. God will take care of it. Like Jesus, take the wheel, basically. It's like, yeah. So there's a lot of these myths we tell ourselves, and I think like the atheist types think they're above this, and they're not. They have their own mythologies. That's like,
yeah. There's things that they hold to, just as unconsciously or consciously as we do.
As we do.
Yeah.
Are you religious?
Oh no, I'm a Taoist.
Okay.
Confirmed. At the beginning of this conversation, I converted.
Right on.
Yeah.
I guess I ask everyone on the show, but I've never actually asked you before. What do you think happens after we die?
After we die? So my earnest hope is that what happens after you die is whatever you hoped for in your life. You know, whatever you expected just happens. Because basically, I mean, when you die, you know, your brain releases a bunch of chemicals and stuff, and your perception of time will totally change. A minute could feel like an eternity or whatever, you know? So, I mean, your vision of heaven or hell or eternal nothingness or whatever you expected, I hope that's what you get. And I'm going to stick to that.
Yeah.
So for me, your consciousness just basically dissolves, becomes part of the winds of the aether of whatever, you know, the universe really is. That stuff we can't perceive, you know, you just become part of that. And you achieve some higher level of understanding, and you're just, you know, you just don't worry about this anymore. You just go. Yeah.
Yeah. That's a pretty like that's very similar to Nirvana, you know.
Yeah. Totally.
And this like also just like there being a God consciousness, it's like that's what you're returning to is the state of everything. And I don't know. I kind of hope there's a way. I don't want to come back here again, but I kind of still want to just hang out like as a ghost as me. I don't really want to be like I don't really want to merge with that again. I like being me. I want to be me after I die too.
I would love the idea of being like an observer, you know, like being able to like walk around and like watch people live their lives and stuff. Even if I can't interact at all, just getting to watch that kind of thing would be pretty amazing.
Yeah. Yeah. If there's like a society of ghosts where we can talk about Ishmael.
Yeah, dude, like two travelers passing along the way. Like, hey, you read Ishmael? Sit down.
Start a podcast.
Yeah. Maybe the ghost of a telepathic gorilla will come by.
Oh shit. Harambe, bro. Hey, I want to go where Harambe's at. That's what I want. Yo, free my man Harambe.
Dude, yeah.
2024.
I honestly, dude, I hope 2024 is the year we catch Coney. I think it's gonna happen this year. It was Coney
Catch
2012, 12 years after. It's
Who's Coney?
2024. Joseph Coney.
Who's Joseph Coney?
Oh, this is the big like Coney 2012 thing. He's some African war criminal. I don't know. It was this big move in 2012 to try to capture this guy. And they had like an assembly in my school where we all watched this Coney 2012 video, and everyone got all hyped up on Joseph Coney. And then no one talked about it like after that.
Damn.
And I think he basically just disappeared, and like no one knows where he is.
Damn, so he's just a meme. That's
yeah,
all he is.
He's just he's 2024. It's the year we catch him.
Yeah, I believe it. That's what's gonna start the apocalypse.
That's right. Yeah. Joseph Coney.
2024. He's coming back. How many people that how many famous people do you think have faked their deaths? What about any of those? Do you believe any of those?
Dude, good question. I don't know. I think there's got to be at least one, just statistically, because there's a lot of those theories out there. Maybe there's one that's true, but I think most of them are probably BS.
Do you know
what do you think?
You know Andy Kaufman?
You think Andy Kaufman?
You know who Andy Kaufman is?
Yes.
Dude, he said he was like, once he found out he had cancer, he told everyone, he's like, one day I'm gonna fake my death, and you'll all think I'm dead, but I'll still be around, and I'm coming back in this year, and like name the year.
What year was it?
The year that Man on the Moon came out with Jim Carrey.
No shit. Are you serious? Wow.
Yeah.
That's kind of wild.
So they did it as like he's back,
Yeah, dude.
So what's that shit gets wild though, because Jim Carrey got like really obsessed with this character, and like Jim Carrey is like a godly method actor. He is on another level of method acting, and he like lived Andy Kaufman like the whole time they were filming.
Yeah.
And like, I don't know, there's something about that. It's like actors are tapping into like something weird there.
Yeah.
Like you make it really easy to become another person, which is why I think maybe some of this like Hollywood occultism stuff is linked with that. It's like that's someone who can like put on a persona like of any deity, you know what I mean?
How deep does the method acting go?
Yeah. It's like I'm not Jim Carrey, I'm Lucifer.
Yeah,
it's
right?
Like, yeah.
Dude, eventually they're gonna make a movie about Jeffrey Epstein. Better hope the guy doesn't method act.
Oh my god. No. Jim Carrey. Oh my god.
Oh, it's a very old Jim Carrey.
but it's like a fucking Ace Ventura comedy. He's like, the kids are here.
Don't go in there.
Oh my god. Oh man, there was this guy recently whose job it was. I'm sorry, this took a dark turn all of a sudden. I apologize.
Yeah, let's flip this.
I apologize in
energy.
advance.
That's okay. Go ahead.
There's this guy recently whose job it was to feed the worst dark web content he could find to AI so it could recognize it.
Oh Jesus.
And he was like, it broke me completely.
Yeah.
Like he's not doing good.
I honestly, there's no amount of money you could pay me to do that job. To view the worst content on the internet. Oh man.
Yeah. I think so. This is kind of like a no-brainer. This is gonna sound really obvious, but like I think the people that have a really high tolerance for that stuff versus people who like have a normal amount or like even like squeamish amount of like, it comes down to empathy.
Yeah.
Like people who, well, like sadism, I guess, also just requires a certain low level of empathy, because I think what empathy, like really what it comes down to is your ability to put yourself in their shoes. It's like the scariest type of monster for me in any movie is like the one, like the squonk, where it looks like it's in pain. like you see a horror movie and this thing is like horribly deformed, and it's like that would suck to be you, and my empathy triggers, and I'm like, oh God, it sucks being that thing.
Yeah, man.
Like anything from Silent Hill
Ooh.
is like that.
Yeah, that's a bad one. Dude, you know what else? In you ever play BioShock Infinite?
Yeah, dude, I love that game.
Yeah, dude, you know the handyman where he's like tracking
Yeah.
that suit and he's all like, oh, like that
Yeah.
for me.
Yeah, and he's always screaming in agony. Yeah,
I know,
or
yeah.
anger. Yeah, I think he's like simple. Also, is that
I mean, I think he's just not thinking straight. I think it was a
Man.
normal worker who basically had like a lot of debt, and they like turned him into a handyman.
dude? That's crazy.
Yeah, it's it's BioShock Infinite. It's gonna be preachy.
I didn't realize that. Oh yeah, Bioshock was super preachy. I love it though. It's like
It's awesome.
it's a great game.
Those games are great. Yeah.
Yeah, I like Rapture too, but Columbia is just like a cooler world to me.
Yeah, I agree. I think Rapture is more defined by like the whole, like the plasmids or is it the plasmids down there? Oh, yeah, it's the vigors in yeah. So anyway, it's like the plasmids and like how they're all like mutants and like monsters and stuff, but like Columbia, that's like a whole different universe. That's like people. It's not a zombie apocalypse. It's anyway. Yeah, we should probably get back to Ishmael.
Oh yeah,
Talk about Bioshock.
we're talking about Ishmael. That's right.
Okay, so let me ask you this: what was the point that most surprised you in this book?
Oh, like what? I see what you mean.
Mhm.
Not like events that happened, but what knowledge jumped out at me.
Yeah, just like a point in this book that made you.
So there's a lot. So to say which one hopped out at me the most, I'm gonna just kind of like keep thumbing through. But like off the top of my head, the Garden of Eden stuff.
Oh, I was about to say the same thing. Absolutely. Tell me more.
I'm having trouble finding that part.
Yeah,
But,
let me see if I got some close enough phone. Ready for some dead air? We're just gonna be scrolling and flipping pages. No podcast for you.
No podcast for you.
Let's see. Yeah, so oh, here we go. Yo, hey, I got you. Okay. Ah, man, yeah, dead air. All right, I got a quote. Okay, ready? Listen to this.
Mm-hmm.
And when the gods heard all this, they saw that of all the trees in the garden, only the tree of the knowledge and the good and evil could destroy Adam.
Hey, what page is that?
That is 176. Okay. Actually, can you go to 175?
That's so crazy. I had it open to 170.
Hey, all right, I'm going to keep going. And so they said to him, quote, "You may eat of every tree in the garden and save the tree of the knowledge of good and evil, for on the day you eat of that tree, you will certainly die." End quote.
It was 175.
176.
Yeah, that's part of what I had outlined. I'm gonna go back a little bit actually.
Yeah, I'm gonna read you one more quote while you do that. Quote, "Your sufferings must be borne, for you suffer in the cause of good. See how great we have become. Wielding the knowledge of good and evil, we have made ourselves the masters of this world. And the gods have no power over us. Though your groans fill the air, isn't it sweeter to live in our own hands than in the hands of the gods?" I think that's about.
Yeah. So right before that, it talks about how this pantheon of gods, and how they're trying to dictate whether it is better to let the gazelle die by the hand of the lion or let it escape.
Yeah.
And just they're making all these micro decisions about what lives and what dies.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, because if you let the lion eat, it kills the gazelle, and if you let the gazelle live, it kills the lion. And if you let the gazelle live, it's going to eat some grass, which means that the bug doesn't get to eat the grass, and it's a bad decision for the grasshopper. And then if you let the grasshopper starve, then that means the bird gets no food, and the bird starves, and the bird's pissed at you, and all of nature gets pissed off at you.
Yeah. So you have to decide on a case by case basis what lives and what dies.
Yep.
And
And so the gods, to decide that, they eat from the tree of knowledge. They eat from
yes.
that to
Yes.
decide what is right and wrong, and to basically have this implicit knowledge of like, we know what's right. Some days the lion doesn't get to eat, but someday the lion gets to eat. And someday the gazelle gets to live. And some days the gazelle gets eaten by the lion. And on some days it's the gazelle's day, and on some days it's the lion's day. And it's just the way it is. And the gods have that knowledge because they ate from the tree, you know? And yeah. I think, I'm sorry, I don't mean to hijack this, but I think one big point in that too was Adam ate from the tree. Adam is, humanity in this parable. And so when Adam ate from that tree, he thought he had the knowledge and he thought that he could make these judgment decisions.
Yes.
And that came at great cost to nature and the balance of the world.
Yeah. So that's what's happened is, metaphorically speaking, he only explains these things because, again, he's got parables inside of a parable here.
Yeah.
He's created a story within a narrative. And
definitely.
Like, so he's telling you, like, throughout the whole thing, he's like, teach this to people and use stories to do it.
Mm-hmm.
Use narratives.
Yeah.
Yeah. Which, because like that's every religious text.
Yeah, totally.
And so like, yeah, so he creates his, like, basically like a prequel to the Bible, like a prequel to Genesis here, where he's like, here are the gods, which is so interesting because in the original, the oldest Torah, I think it was Dead Sea Scrolls, the oldest Torah ever found, the word is gods. In the beginning, the gods created the heavens and the earth.
Plural?
And then it becomes a singular Elohim, God, singular.
Oh.
But originally, in the beginning, the gods created the heavens and earth. You won't find that in church, though. That's Hebrew mysticism.
So it's literally just one S that changes everything.
It's not, it's not English, so it's not one S. But
yeah, but like
the Hebrew equivalent
turning it into a plural
of making it plural. Yeah.
Huh. Crazy.
So that's interesting that he starts it out with a pantheon.
Yeah.
It's like, so he's like, this guy's deeply aware of scripture.
Sure.
And so then they're having this whole conversation about Adam, and like man is, I think even in this mythos, man is their favorite.
Mm-hmm.
So it's not the favorite, it's the first. That's what it is. Adam's been chosen to go first above the other animals because it talks about how the other animals, we were supposed to be not the only thing to dominate the world, but basically what I got out of it was to cultivate other animals long enough that they can evolve to be like us.
Yeah, you know what it is? We're stewards of the earth.
Yeah,
we're not we're not in control of it. We just like help.
We're here to like facilitate dolphins and chimps.
Yeah,
and octopus.
Chimps for sure, man. Have you seen all the articles about chimps? How they're kind of like entering a Stone Age society in some parts of the world.
Whoa, really?
Yeah, the chimps. Yeah, they're like developing fire, stuff like that. Like over the next couple thousand years, I think these chimps are gonna make some big advancements, and eventually we're gonna have species coexisting that are same as us.
I mean, yeah, if we help them along and don't make life impossible for them.
Exactly.
And that's kind of like we've done. How many species have we done that for? Where we've made them go extinct, where we have. Mm-hmm. I mean, we've changed them. We've changed animals to make them. We've done the opposite of what nature would have done.
Yeah.
We made these animals herd animals. I mean, not herd animals, but like you get what I'm saying. We made them cattle. We made them food.
Are you referring to the domestication?
Yeah, like the way, especially the stuff we eat. Like what we did to dogs is fucked up too. Like what we've done to the wolf is fucked up. My point is, it's the opposite of evolution.
I think the dogs are pretty stoked to be dogs. Well, I think dogs. No,
I'm with you. I'm with you. What I really mean to say by all that is, it's a de-evolution. We have fucked up the evolution of what that animal would have been.
Yeah, when you look at a pug versus a wolf.
Yeah,
yeah.
So it's like, if we're here to steward the earth, like that kind of stuff is like the opposite of that.
Oh yeah.
Like what we've done to chickens, like People
They're
are,
fucking bad at their jobs.
it's like we can't just release all these chickens into the wild. Like if everyone went vegan today,
Oh man, could you imagine? They just open the shuttle bay door of like Tyson Farms and just release all the chickens.
they'd be dead in minutes.
It would be insane. The highways would be carnage.
Dead chickens everywhere. Like chickens are not smart enough to survive on their own. We did that.
No, and we also bred them to not be able to survive in the wild at all. Like
Yeah.
you know how they have like like huge like breasts and wings and stuff, and they can barely move and all that because we just harvest them. We have totally domineered nature in that way.
Was it
It's
you who
awful.
was telling me where chickens come from?
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Yeah, tell Alice about that.
Alice, check this out. So I saw this on one of those like YouTube infographic show things. So if I'm wrong about this, please forgive me, Alice.
Blame them if he's wrong. Blame infographics.
Yeah, infographic thing. So domestication of chickens. The reason that it was so easy, right, is because chickens are like wild hens, and they live in Asia in like bamboo forests, and basically bamboo is part of its life cycle. It grows really huge, and then every so often it will basically like breed and flower, make seeds and stuff, and it'll spread a whole bunch of seeds. And the seeds will land all over the ground. And so these hens, they've evolved to whenever this huge like seed spread happens, they just eat them up, go crazy, crazy, crazy. And they lay a bunch of eggs and have a bunch of kids, and their population explodes. And then over time, that population will decrease and decrease, kind of like, Ishmael talks about, and return to stable levels. But they're in their DNA, they're just predisposed to these huge population boosts. And what that means is if you can constantly provide them with adequate food and stuff, they will just always lay a shitload of eggs. And if you just don't fertilize the eggs, they're a bunch of edible eggs. And they become these like, awesome domesticated beings. And they're also delicious.
Yeah. I mean, it's great for us.
Yeah.
Not so great for a lot of the creatures we've domesticated that way.
Mhm.
It's like they're dependent on us now.
Yeah. Oh, totally. Totally. Yeah. I mean, like, think about house cats or like small breeds of dogs. I mean, they're basically going to be, for the most part, house cats and small breeds of dogs will be wiped out within like a couple of months of humanity going
Sure. Yeah, they're not gonna be able to hang with the big dogs.
Yeah. I think there are small pockets of house cats that'll do okay and they'll come back.
Cats will do better than dogs.
They're survivors. Sure. They'll come back. But I think in the first few weeks, I think the big dogs are going to have their day. And then eventually they're going to pass on and the house cats are going to take over.
Yeah.
And then eventually the squids.
The squids.
Yes, that's right. The cephalopods.
Hitchhiker's Guide with the thanks for all the fish.
So long and thanks for all the fish. Yeah, totally.
The dolphins
they're just gonna bounce, dude. That's what that song was about. The dolphins just leaving.
Peace.
Yeah.
Yeah, we did.
They're about to pave over your planet. We're bouncing.
We did Hitchhiker's Guide on the book club a while back.
Oh, those books are so good. Dude.
Yeah, we did the first one. We should do the second one at some point.
The second one was great too.
I've only read the first one.
The second one had this awesome thing in it, right? It was this concept where like the dude he falls and he falls off something huge, and as he's falling, he basically forgets that he's falling, and because of that he just starts flying. He just forgets that gravity affects him, and because of that it doesn't, and he just
That's
flies.
funny.
It was awesome. It was like a whole thing in the book too. Like it became a plot point. But I always thought that was really kind of fun.
You know anything about chaos magic?
Yeah, absolutely.
That's kind of like
sum it up for Alice and the other members of the Tea Party.
Yeah, Alice has definitely heard me talk about it, but
give us the quick rundown in a paragraph or less.
In one word. But chaos is like matter over mind over matter, basically, and it's kind of like faith is what's important, not so much what you put faith in. So chaos magic is like a scientific approach to magic, where it's like we're not worried about theory, we're worried about results. So like don't worry about how shit works, just focus on what is possible, like what can you do. And like don't worry so much about it. Kind of like you can use any mythology to work with chaos. So it's like if you're raised as a Christian, use demonic imagery because that's real to you.
Sure.
Or like if you're raised Hindu, use Vedic gods because it's kind of like
yeah, and you know what? Another one too. It's like if you think Batman is cool, just believe that Batman's real and just be Batman. And because of that, Batman is real.
I have the Batman.
That's right.
Where are they? Where is she? Where's the trigger? Where is the trigger? But yeah. But yeah, no, I think it can kind of get like parodied by being like kind of like that hitchhiker's thing you just told me, where he just forgets about gravity so he
Yeah.
can fly.
Yeah, right. It's
Like,
if you don't think about the laws of the universe, because it's like if you give mental power to something, it becomes real. If you don't give mental power to something,
Yeah.
it just stops being real, and you
Yeah.
can do whatever you want.
That's very chaos, and I think that can be like kind of memed and made fun of that way. It's like you think you can just okay, mind over matter, okay, fucking fly then.
Yeah.
But like that's not really what that whole sect is saying. They're more like, okay, with the boundary of physics, like we're not denying the laws of physics,
Yeah.
but beyond that, mind over matter. Like you can literally do anything you set your mind to, as long as it's not flying.
Yeah,
or shooting fire out of your
things
hands.
are objective and real.
And that would be physics.
Yeah,
That'd be
physics.
Yeah, and you can't do anything about that.
Yeah.
I don't care who you are. Like that's not changing.
What if you're a 9th level sorcerer?
No, you're not changing physics.
What if you're the pasta mancer and you can turn your friends into rigatoni?
All right, challenge. If you can turn your friends into rigatoni or fly or shoot fire out of your hands, fucking show me.
That's you. There's a specific person out there. We're both thinking about him. We're thinking about you, guy who can turn people into pasta.
But that's why people don't believe in magic, because they think when you're talking about magic, you're talking about fucking fireballs.
Yeah.
And flying.
Yeah,
and
it's corny, but really
it's actually just psychology. It's all just like Freud was very much like on some Jewish occultism.
Mm-hmm.
And Jung was fucking came from a Catholic background. Yeah. So like they turned religion into a science, which is psychology. Yeah. And chaos magic is like more just it's dark psychology stuff.
You know what chaos magic is? A lot of it is just setting goals and achieving them in weird ways. It's really just personal motivation. You know, it's like, oh, I can do these rituals and draw sigils and stuff, but it also just sets me on a positive mental pathway that will make my goals happen. I think a lot of it is just realizing inside yourself that you're capable of doing things.
Yes. And to me, that is magic.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
100%. It betters yourself. You know, the magic works because at the end of the day, you have become someone who's capable of making those things happen.
Yeah. And it's like you end up doing this weird thing, like it's like you're hacking your brain. So like it does feel like a very like, whoa, like I think it's magical because it requires like some like a subconscious element.
Sure.
Where it's like I didn't even realize I was capable of that. That's like a superhuman thing. Like when people get in the zone, dude.
Oh, when you're locked in.
When you were locked in, like when, like people who live this, like athletes and like certain drummers, like or like pro gamers that are just taking Adderall and playing fucking Call of Duty, dude.
I need to play Overwatch right now.
Yeah, I've known people like that. Just like in rank in some super competitive game, they're taking Adderall and they're just doing this all day. Yeah. They're not there, dude. That person's not home.
They checked out, dude. They have left the building.
What it is like when you are in the zone like that, ego's gone. You are the activity.
Yeah.
When you are like a professional Olympic runner, that person is like you said, he's left the building. It's just go.
Yeah.
There's nothing. It's like an insect. Insects don't have all this conscious thought that slows them down. They don't have philosophy. It's like they are in the action. That's why they have like amazing reflexes. Like you try to swat a fly. Mm-hmm. It's like it is in go mode all the time. It has no thought. It's just do.
Yeah.
And that's what the zone is. We tap into that fucking I'm not here, I am an instrument.
Mm-hmm. It's the way the insects have been living for millennia.
Yeah.
Hey, you know what? I got a cool insect theory for you. And check this out. So I think that consciousness and like upper levels of thought, I think that kind of thing really developed because at some point we were able to gather enough resources and provide enough calories and warmth and shelter to just maintain homeostasis at all times. And that's what life is, beings just keeping themselves alive. That's the main goal.
Yeah.
And then reproduction is secondary and it goes from there. But we were able to do that easily through cooperation and upper thought, and I think that's also because we are very lucky with our biology. Humans are incredibly dexterous. Our hands and just the complex motions that we can do, that's evolved over time, but that came from something. And so here's my insect theory, right? Jumping spiders have got it figured out. They are on point. A jumping spider can fucking fly from your laptop to this shelf over here, which for the viewers is about 5-6 feet, maybe 5 feet. Would you give me 5 feet on this? Maybe four and a half.
5.
Yeah, 5. Okay, it's 5 feet.
4.5.
4.5.
Yeah.
Okay, but still, a spider the size
It can
of a
jump
grain
more
of
than
rice.
that. It can jump more than 4.5 feet, probably.
If it really wanted to.
Yeah.
If it was like scared or something. But this spider's the size of a grain of rice, and it could do that. And so the spider, it's got shit figured out. It's a very, very efficient hunter. And because of that, jumping spiders are like the smartest bugs out there. They're actually smart. They're curious, and I think you can see a lot of people on social media where they got pet jumping spiders that will get interested in this.
Really?
Yeah, they're actually pretty smart. I think it's a big thing. They're kind of the smartest insect because they're so efficient.
No shit, man.
I think that a big part of intelligence is basically conquering nature, like Ishmael says, is being able to maintain your just biological levels and just having spare time.
For spare time. Yeah, you have
spare time. Yeah,
spare time, man. Richard Dawkins says the most valuable invention humanity ever came up with was the container, for exactly the same reason. Spare time.
That's a good point.
Yeah,
I like that. The container.
It's not fire. It's having a thing to put things in.
The container feels like a kind of a concept, though.
Yeah,
because that can be a bowl or a jar
if you want to get
an oil rig.
But even just using half a coconut, it is a concept, but it is technically an invention.
Yeah, it beats making a little bowl with your hands.
Kind of like if I pick up a bone and use it to kill someone, that's technology. That's an invention.
You're basically talking about tool use, just
simple tools
in this specific context of containing something. Yeah.
But yeah, that kind of is the most important thing people have ever done.
Yeah,
it led
storing
to everything
food.
Else. Yeah. Kind of like chipmunks with their acorn. That means chipmunks are smarter than us, bro.
Dude,
you seen that episode of Rick and Morty when the squirrels?
Oh, yeah, dude. He gets tapped into the squirrels' thoughts, and they are super intelligent, talking about controlling world politics and shit. That was awesome.
They know.
Yeah, they do.
Yeah.
Hey, another little weird theory I got here. I think that there's life out in the oceans, dude. I think that there's intelligent life out there.
Yeah.
That maybe.
Well, definitely octopus.
Yeah.
Dolphins.
So the thing is, with octopus,
orca whales. Yeah. Fucking super smart.
Yeah.
Anyway, go ahead.
Orcas are a different thing. I think with octopuses, my big theory is that they're really smart, and they could be on our level, but they aren't able to establish a culture. Because octopuses live for about 8 months. They basically they're born and they have babies and they die. And they are also very solitary. They don't bond with each other at all. So because of that, they have no culture and no way to trade knowledge through generations. They have no way to pass on knowledge. So because of that, they can't develop a culture. But if there were long-lived octopuses that talk to their babies and stuff, they could totally do that. Yeah. So my point is, if there are octopuses out there that were able to do that deep in our oceans and able to establish tool use and eventually able to tap into something we don't understand, I'm sure maybe they could get pretty smart, and maybe there might be other intelligent life on this planet, but it would be deep, deep in our oceans, and we haven't reached it yet.
So it's not just our brains, it's our thumbs and our vocal cords.
And our lifespan. too,
and our fucking lifespan.
and our cooperation.
There's a lot of, I don't know, that's like suspicious amounts of
coincidences.
Yeah.
You mean just like through what you're talking
that's
about
like
is evolution.
what I'm saying is that's suspiciously convenient. Like,
not really, it's evolution. We've become incredibly efficient at our jobs through selective, evolution.
I think that is a perfectly valid theory. I have nothing against that. But you're aware of some of the alternative ideas?
Go ahead. Yeah.
Like Anunnaki. You aware of that stuff?
Oh yeah.
Like,
aren't you like not supposed to say the Anunnaki's name, or am I thinking of something else? No, that's the Archons. Never mind. Yeah. Sorry. Go ahead. Do your thing.
Anunnaki. So the oldest living document ever found is the Epic of Gilgamesh.
Yeah.
Which you're a history buff, you know this. It's ancient Sumerian stuff, like 5,000 BC, something like that. I know that's a big jump, but it's somewhere in between that range. And it is a story about how we became.
Mm-hmm.
So the oldest thing we have ever fucking found is a story about us.
A creation story.
A creation story is the oldest thing we've ever found.
Mm-hmm.
And every creation story is based on this. For example, okay, so in the Epic of Gilgamesh is a flood story that mirrors what's in Noah.
No shit.
Dude.
I mean, were they written at similar times?
No. The biblical story comes way after this.
No shit.
But it's derivative of this ancient Sumerian text. Yeah. The original flood story, it's this guy named Gilgamesh. And instead of building an ark and putting all the animals on it, he has vials of essence, whatever that means. It's just rows and rows and rows of vials of essence.
Vials of essence.
So, like,
do you think
DNA?
You think he was storing DNA in test tubes?
It makes a lot more sense than I got all the animals, 2 of each animal on a fucking boat.
Yeah, I mean that's not going to work long term. But
well,
storing vials of DNA.
Look,
that's crazy.
Look, that is crazy. But this is the oldest thing ever written. Saying this, not me.
Yeah.
Okay. And and it at the end of it, the god of that story is known to be an archer. He's a hunter, and he hangs his bow up in the sky. In the biblical context, God makes a rainbow, and it's a sign of peace. But you lose all this archer symbology. Sure. It comes from. It's like, why does God make a rainbow? It's like, yeah, because the original story, he's an archer. He's hanging his bow in the sky.
It's the curve of the bow.
Yes.
Yeah, I like that.
It's a rainbow, and yeah.
Hey,
God uses it. That'd be fucking sick.
Do you think they planned that one?
You should draw a god with a rainbow. Like, that'd be cool.
Oh, that would be pretty cool.
But anyway, in that story, aliens came here to mine gold because gold's good for their planet's atmosphere. I can't believe you don't know this. This is the oldest thing ever found.
Wait, they were talking about other planets' atmospheres?
Nibiru. That's where Nibiru comes from, is Anunnaki stuff. Planet 10. Oh, is this all? Oh, dude, we're going down a rabbit hole. Okay.
This is fucking crazy, but I'm locked.
We're talking about this now. We're not talking about Ishmael.
Yeah. Shut up about this book. Tell me about the Anunnaki.
Okay, so fucking again, the oldest thing ever found says aliens came here to harvest gold, and it was good for their atmosphere back on their planet. So they create a species here, taking a native species from the planet, apes, and bind their DNA to it. Now, whether you want to say they were fucking monkeys or they were just creating a genetic hybrid some other way is up to interpretation. But they created man to mine gold, and they made him mindless. They made him drones. Okay.
What? Okay.
I can't believe you don't know this.
Keep it going. I love this.
I'm not. I swear to God, I'm not making this up.
An alien race gave man consciousness, but only enough to make them mindless drones to mine gold for their atmosphere.
Yes, and there's more to the story.
Yeah.
There was one of these guys named Enki, and Enki decided, I'm going to put like I'm going to give these people awareness and consciousness
Oh shit.
because they deserve it, which
He's
is
like a Prometheus-like
it's
figure.
Prometheus and it's the snake in the garden.
Yeah.
So Enki is this story that these other stories are derivative of.
Mhm.
And he's like, I'm going to make them aware.
Sure,
And
this
he's
is like a giver of knowledge. Yeah.
and he's punished for it.
They always are.
So what's crazy is the story trails off from there. There's not a conclusion.
You don't really find out what happens to Enki in the end.
As far as I know, no. And
Where does
I
it leave
think
off with him?
so that I don't know exactly where it leaves off. Last thing I'm aware of is him giving consciousness to man. Well, then there's Gilgamesh and stuff like that. So I guess there, I don't know to answer your question. I guess there is
Gilgamesh is like its own like heroic epic. Like it's about man. You know, I think Gilgamesh is more of a story that's its own thing. If we get into Gilgamesh, we're gonna start getting into
Yeah.
the weeds here,
yeah.
like for real.
So there's an answer to your question. I just don't have it. Where Enki went and all the
Okay.
Anunnaki went.
So the point is, though, you're saying that the oldest text on Earth says that humanity was given consciousness by aliens
Yes.
in order to mine gold.
Yes. Now, again, I'm sure there's an answer to your question, but I don't know what happens to the Anunnaki.
Mhm.
But humans are too smart to go mine gold now for these aliens
Yeah.
at this point in the story. What's the best way to get them to mine gold anyway? Capitalism. You create a system where everyone's goal of the system is to accumulate as much gold as possible. Now they're in nice little piles where you can just go get them in one convenient scoop rather than having to dig it. You get these people to dig it anyway and then just get it in one place. Where's our gold? Where's America's gold at?
So what you're talking
It was in
about,
Hoover Dam, but it's not there.
what you're talking about is I think it's a fixed money system where it's like our money is backed up by gold. The gold standard is what you're talking about.
Yeah, like a
Like
fiat currency. Yeah.
No, fiat currency has
That's
a
what
different
we're in
value.
now, I
Yeah.
think. Yeah.
That's right. We base
You're right.
our money on the world like
You're right.
ranking.
The gold
Yeah.
standard. Right.
So the gold standard would mean that every dollar you have is backed up by a certain amount of gold in
Yeah.
the US Treasury. You know, and you hold the value of that gold.
Yeah.
But we don't have that anymore.
Right.
Are you
Where,
saying
I'm saying where the fuck is that gold?
Are
And
you
why aren't we
saying
doing that anymore?
Are you saying that the aliens stole our gold and made us switch over to the fiat currency because they scooped it up and our whole purpose, you know, from the beginning was to mine all the gold on Earth and they just came and scooped it up? Is that what you're saying?
Yeah. And they don't interfere unless it's like a nuclear launch because they don't care about the state of the world as long as people are accumulating gold. But they do have to keep us from blowing ourselves up.
Yeah, that also links up with a lot of those kind of alien theories, you know, that they're like, you know, big into the nuclear programs,
Yeah.
like military bases and shit. Because like, if that stuff goes wrong, they get no more gold.
I think all the governments in the world are giving over the gold. Like we put them in banks, federal banks, and get this paper instead. Why the fuck did we do that in the first place? Why would we not hold on to the actual value? Well, it's more convenient to carry around a bunch of pieces of paper rather than a chunk of gold. It's like, that's not a good, if I'm back then, that's not a good enough reason for me to give you all my shit. Unless you're being forced to.
You get a sweet piece of paper.
Unless your government is like, no, you're going to give me your fucking gold and I'm going to give you this paper. And that's how it's going to be. So it's like, so they got their gold and it's like, instead of dealing with each businessman, they just deal with each government. Like, here's a big chunk here in America. Here's a big chunk here in China, Russia. And I mean, maybe the experiment ends when we run out of gold. Because there's a lot of gold in human circulation still.
Yeah.
There's a lot of people with gold still.
That's true. It's really not a very uncommon metal. I think you can get gold pretty easily.
But I mean, yeah. That's actually kind of to my point though, right? Because why is it so fucking valuable when it's so common?
It's a sign value. It's like diamonds. You know, like
diamonds are man, we can get on crystals another time because crystals are crazy.
I want to hear this.
Not like healing crystals,
Astrology.
not like
girl
healing
stuff,
crystals,
alright.
but like crystals can theoretically hold information. Like you could store info if you could learn how to do it.
Mhm.
But anyway.
You guys should stay tuned. The next episode, Alex gives me a Reiki massage.
I guess we should probably wrap it up. But Ishmael is awesome. I love this book. It was very personal to me. Thank you so much for recommending this.
Oh, my pleasure. Yeah. You guys should really read Ishmael. I know we didn't really do it justice in our talking about it, but it is a book
I
that
disagree.
no, I think honestly, like our tangents were like perfect for it. But I will say, Ishmael is a book that examines human behavior and puts it into a context based on both culture and just the idea of human biology, and our place on Earth. And it looks at that and it synthesizes it, geez, in a way that is very digestible and is very enjoyable to read. I think it's a good book, and I think, Alice, you should read it if you haven't yet. If you showed up here and you didn't read this book, you've been very quiet, and I think that's why.
Yeah, you didn't really read it, did you?
Yeah, read the book, Alice. Come on, what the heck?
Yeah, this one will stay with me forever. I get the feeling I'll probably read this again at some point. Next month, can I get a drum roll? Yeah. The Old Man and the Sea by Ernest Hemingway. This one was recommended by our friend Michael Orange from Taxiway.
Yeah, Taxiway.
He said that he would like to discuss this book for the book club. It's a classic. Again, not something I would read on my own, but I'm glad we're doing it because I've never read it. And this kind of stuff expands my worldview instead of just sticking in fantasy all the time. But yeah, I'm excited to read The Old Man and the Sea. This one's short. If you haven't done a book club yet and you want to get in on one, it's not Ishmael. It's not like 320 pages. It's like,
yeah. Alex, have you ever read this book before? Or this novella or whatever you call it, short story?
I have not.
So I've read this one before. It is very good.
This is 80 pages. Holy shit.
Yeah, you could read this in a good afternoon. You should. Holy do shit. It. Yep.
Yeah, do Old Man and the Sea. Yeah, I've never read it. I'm excited to. I've never read any Hemingway.
I've only read a tiny bit. I think I've read this and For Whom the Bell Tolls and stuff. Yeah.
For Whom the Bell Tolls. Alice, we'll see you next week. Thanks again for the great recommendation.